And for Robert, you want to tell what it is? You can tell me.
No, you tell.
Oh, it's at Robert_Greg, G-R-E-I-G.
Thank you, Jackie. And I'd just like to say that as far as introductions go, that introduction is by far and away the most recent that I've ever had. Man rushes into the doctors. He says, "Doctor, doctor, you've got to help me. I keep thinking I'm a moth." And the doctor says, "You don't want me. You want to go to the psychiatrist at the end of the corridor." He says, "I was on my way there, but your light was on." The doctor said, "I'm sorry, I don't follow you." And the man said, "That's all right, I'm not on Twitter." Start off as you mean to go on. As Jackie has introduced me, my name's Robert Gregg. Sell office furniture for a living, and I've been involved with social media. My first venture into social media was when I joined LinkedIn, like many people. I joined it back in December 2004. I had been involved in business networking through initially BNI and various other organisations, so I enjoyed the networking ethos. But at that time, the company that I worked for were no longer prepared to fund BNI, so I had to look for something else. And networking on the internet seemed like the ideal opportunity. Ecademy was introduced to me. LinkedIn was introduced to me. I went onto it and I just couldn't get the hang of it. I didn't understand the concept. At that time, LinkedIn was completely different from it is now. No one had any photographs. There were no clubs. There wasn't really an awful lot of interrelationship between the various members. It was really a means of keeping in contact with people that you already know, and not an opportunity to make new contacts. Within a couple of days, the only people you could contact were those who were already in the contact sphere of one of your own contacts. I came across a contact for a chap called Thomas Power, who's the chairman of Ecademy. Clicked through, joined Ecademy, which is another online networking group, and I thought it was marvellous. It seemed completely different from LinkedIn. You could actually make direct connections with people that you didn't know. You could build up relationships with these people. You could put your picture on your profile. So I get very busily involved with Ecademy, and shortly after I get involved with the Glasgow network of Ecademy, where people actually came face to face once a month to meet up. And I found that a much better way of building up these relationships. And I'm pleased to see that there's a couple of people who I've known from the Ecademy days have come along this morning. I thought, right, okay, this is how I'm going to sell more office furniture. I'm going to make all these contacts. So I developed my contacts, built up my profile, and I thought, well, I'll make my profile a little bit different from everyone else's. So I put a whole stack of jokes on my profile. Yeah, of course I get complimentary comments about the fact that my profile was different, made all these connections. I mean, got up very soon. I had over 2,700 connections. I was one of the most connected people in Scotland at that time. I took over the leadership of the Glasgow network, ran the monthly meetings, and of course the business was pouring in. No, it wasn't. I wasn't getting any business from it. I did a lot of blogging on Ecademy. All my blogs tended to be humour related. I put some in about office furniture, but nobody was really all that terribly interested, surprisingly enough. And it just didn't seem to be working or gelling for me. About the same time, I was moving from one employer to another, and I thought, this is not quite working for me. And that just happened to coincide about the time that LinkedIn changed. LinkedIn changed in as much as you could. Now they had, they didn't call them clubs, they called them groups on LinkedIn. You had your picture on your profile, and one of the people I'd met on Ecademy, or met virtually, was a cartoonist and caricaturist, Stephen Ellinis, and through him I got a caricature done. I used that as my profile picture. People who knew me realised it was quite a good likeness, but there's a lot of people who didn't know me, and that caricature almost became my trademark, my logo. I used it on LinkedIn, I used it on eCarry, I used it on any social media that I was getting involved in. And funnily enough, I then decided that I didn't want to have connections with people all over the world, because I'm never going to do any business with them. It may well be nice to have a chat with them, but you know, my principal aim was to try and increase my profile and develop business. So I then started concentrating on people, initially in the UK, but certainly in Scotland, where I could have the potential that at some stage, A, we would meet up, and B, possibly, if not directly do business with them, do business with someone that they knew and could refer to me. And that has certainly developed quite nicely for me, thank you. Over the last year, I got involved with Facebook only because my wife insisted that if my daughter was getting onto Facebook, she wanted me to go in and monitor it. And the fact that my daughter is really thrilled that her father is on Facebook and that some of her pals want to connect with her dad more than they want to connect with her. But hey ho, I've only really used Twitter within the last year, and within the last week or so, because I was tweeting a little bit more, I actually stopped using Twitter about 2 or 3 months ago when my account was hacked into and hijacked, and all these stupid messages were sent out to all my contacts. Now the people who knew me fortunately realised it wasn't me, it was someone who'd hijacked my profile, and they still kept following me, but a number of people dropped away. But the people who dropped away, as I mentioned before, they didn't really know me in the first instance. Probably little likelihood of them doing any business with me anyway, so no real harm was done. And I think what the main story, as far as I'm concerned, is, you know, if you're going to embrace social media, don't, as some people have done, just do anything and everything. Don't, you know, telling jokes is fine. It, you know, lets people know that you've got a sense of humour. And I must admit, one of the byproducts of that was I gained some after dinner speaking engagements, which was great. Unfortunately, because I had a profile full of what I considered to be really quite good and funny jokes, one of the, it was a Rotary Club due down at Prestwick, I was invited to come along to, and of course I had my speech all prepared in my pocket, and during the introduction, the chairman said, "Oh, I've looked at Robert's profile, and you know, a couple of his jokes I found really funny," and he then told them, didn't tell them all that terribly well, but it meant that I had to delete them from my talk. So again, you know, what you put out there is out there for eternity, so don't put anything out there that you don't want other people to know. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say thanks very much for giving me the opportunity to speak here. As anybody who knows me, getting me up to speak isn't really a problem. Getting me to sit down and shut up can be, and that's the problem that Jackie's going to have in the next minute or two. But I'd really like to say that Robert Gregg's the name, furniture's the game. If you want quality office furniture that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, come and see me. The name's Robert Gregg. Thank you very much.